Evening everybody, Wednesday night, and we're just out putting some cover crops in. It's been a lovely day, managed to finish the rake. Have to say, yields were quite disappointing. Lots of sort of waterlogging damage, areas of the field that were blank and not growing anything. So I think we yielded a ton a hectare, so I was pretty disappointed by that. So as you can see, it's quite a nice evening, but rather than pushing on with the wheat, we've decided to just concentrate on getting some cover crops in. We've got quite a lot of rain forecast for the next sort of 4 days. Looks like rain showers off and on, so not an opportunity to get much harvesting done. So we will take the opportunity to get these cover crops in and well watered. So we're running with a 6-meter more drill, and it's second hand. You'll see the Ellis badge there. Obviously not everything has gone to plan. As you can see, we've lost a bearing already, and but otherwise field conditions are quite nice. They've got a bit of tilth. So we have taken in the CSS environmental scheme options, and we are going for a winter cover crop followed by a low input spring cereal. So I can hear people saying, well, why isn't he going for a first wheat after rape? Well, the fact is, going back to those discussions we had through the winter, I just can't defend that sort of herbicide bill. If you're going to go into a low input system, you cannot be spending £120 a hectare stopping black grass. So with that in mind, it's easier to defend a spring wheat rather than a winter wheat, and that's what our focus will be going forward. So yes, fingers crossed. Well, having said fingers crossed, I mean, the point is the environmental scheme payment for that combination is about £355 a hectare, so that's well worth it in itself. I can hear people accusing me of continuing to be a subsidy junkie, and I don't think, yes, that is true, I am taking the subsidy payment. However, it's also a case of, I would be putting these practices into place in any case. Why not get paid for them? So that's what I intend to do. Sorry about that delay. This is a new field, or at least a new boundary, so I have to do a bit more steering. But anyway, this is the cover crop is a blend of our own making. We had quite a significant amount of buckwheat in stock, and also mustard, which we get on very well with. This is a buckwheat, mustard and vetch mix as our legume. Oh, and we've also added some tillage radish, only because I read some research that said basically every crop following a mix with some tillage radish had experienced a yield response, positive yield response. So I've got just a sniff of tillage radish in there. So it's mixed. We bought them as straights. We put them through our drill trailer, mixed them up a bit so it's augered out, and then bucketed back in. One trip around the mix was enough, and yes, and we are planting it. So why have I changed to a diverse mix? Well, it's part of the reason is we'll be keeping in the ground longer, therefore I'm more willing to invest in a multi-species cover crop. Also, whilst we're drilling it rather than spinning it on, it was a very interesting presentation by Joel Williams to base in what situations multi-seed species were better than mono cultures. So it's based on some of my thoughts as a result of that lecture by Joel, so thank you very much. Now, I can almost hear the intake of breath as people realise that I am planting a cover crop after rape. Will the slugs decimate this? Well, that's a very good question, and quite frankly I haven't got the answer. I've never tried growing a cover crop in this slot directly behind rape. It's very risky. We have taken the opportunity. This side of HS2 has had 3 stubble rakes before we established the cover crop. It is moving a little bit of ground actually, the moor. So as you can see, it's moving a bit of ground. Also gives you a perception of that there's a fair amount of moisture here. I think we've had about 15 mil over the last week, so there's a bit of surface moisture, hopefully enough to get it going. We will roll after drilling in another effort to suppress the slugs. We've split this field and we've got a grass herb mix next door, and we did top for that, so we ran a topper over half the field, very shallow power harrow pass just to generate a bit of tilth, extra tilth for the grass seeds, in with the moor, and then a stubble rake and a roll, and that's gone down beautifully. This will not be getting that level of treatment, but it'll just be the moor followed by the rolls. We will be pushing on to the other side of HS2 and might give it 1 stubble rake if we can get that in before it rains tomorrow morning. So 1 stubble rake, and then establish the cover crop, more for a case of spreading the residue out so that every seed has the same chance, more so than slug control. Personally, I'm quite worried about the way that harvest is going. It appears that harvest will be very catchy, or looks quite catchy at the moment. I always think there's a bad 2 weeks of weather, just the transition between rape and wheat, which is where we are at the moment. But I don't know, my concern is that on heavy land you need to be running at a significant moisture deficit at harvest in order that for cultivations and then autumn establishment, that you have some safety buffer to go against. And I just don't think we haven't got any moisture deficit in soil. It's quite, it's very good heart at the moment, and my concern is that it wouldn't take too much rain for it to turn into a very wet harvest. So maybe I'm being a little bit brave sitting on a drill with that in mind, but it's very early for the wheat. No, it's not very early, it's early for the wheat. I think there's some safety margin to go for. I would prefer that the wheat was fit and that we could really push on. Time will tell whether I get this wrong or not. More later. Morning everybody. It's Sunday, still raining, and I wanted to talk a little bit just quickly about resilience. There's a very good book about the resilient farmer, which I highly recommend. But as you can see behind me, this is flexi wheat, spring variety sown in the autumn. As you can see, it's not flat yet, but it's starting to go. It's a big problem with spring wheats in general this year, I think. The point that I was trying to make was my hope that a regenerative system is more resilient to weather because you're not growing such heavier yields. You don't get so much lodging. That's an easy example, but we have managed to sow cover crop in after rape, as I outlined earlier in the video. But I love situations where I win whichever the weather is. So here, if it was sunny, we'd be getting on with some combining. If it's wet and rainy, my cover crops are germinating. Those are the situations that I really enjoy, and my hope is that with the regenerative system we can achieve that more often. I was reading a tweet this morning, someone really worried about they had standing water in their stubble, and they said, what does this mean for combining next week? I share their pain. I really understand it and feel it, but I also wonder that if we had soils with better infiltration rates, whether that water would be in the soil rather than on top. Coming back to Gabe Brown's 9 inches an hour infiltration rate, if we could achieve that, would a realistic heavy UK rain of 18 mil really be a problem? I think not, but it's a long way to go to achieve that. So it was just a thought to something for everybody to dwell on. And these are challenging conditions. It is a difficult year. I wish you all the best, and good luck with your harvest. See you later. Till next time. Bye.